welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living right here in beautiful Fullerton, California. Happy Easter, everyone! Thank you for celebrating Easter with us today. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of mind. Be sure to pick up an affirmation egg and join us for special fellowship after service. And 3 lucky people will go home with an Easter lily or a tulip. So there's a little tag inside the Easter egg that says winner. So come see me after service. Next Sunday, join us for Spiritual Economics, class number 4. Anyone can join in this class, and each class is a workshop in its own. So anytime you want, you could join in. Details are in the program, and please sign up at the welcome table today if you're thinking of joining us so that I know how many to prepare for. Spiritual Growth Support Group is ongoing on Wednesday, and that is at 1 p.m. to 2 p.m.-ish. The conversation is so rich that it kind of goes over, but if you can join us at that time, please join us, and that you don't have to commit. You could come in and go if you like. Let's see, and Reverend John Auden will be joining us for 2 Sundays in April. That's going to be on the 23rd and the 30th as Reverend Bill and Beverly take their well-deserved vacation. And they have been going, so yes, wish them a good vacation. Mark your calendar, we're going to have a bingo fundraiser on Sunday, April 30th. And that's going to be after service. Lunch will be provided with the ticket purchase. And a lucky raffle ticket will be given at the time as well. And let's see, oh, and the $1 ticket raffle is going on at that time. And the tickets are on sale now. And you don't have to be present to win, and the grand prize is 50-50 on that one. So the more tickets we sell, the bigger the pot. So please join us for that. Please join us for our prayer for our new spiritual home. The printed prayer is at the welcome table and will be also uploaded to our website. I haven't got to that, but I will get to that tomorrow. Our unexpected income is doing great. If you'd like more information on that, please see me after service. So that's it for me, and I'm going to pass it on to Tommy.
I need to be still, let God love me. To be still and let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
Please join me in our invocation of the living Spirit, the God that created us, animates us, and loves us, right here in our midst, right here and right now. Today we celebrate together the creative energy and everlasting love of the universe that we know as the living Spirit, God. So grateful for all the blessings we share today. I'm so thankful for each one who is here and those who share with us virtually. We appreciate the beautiful music from Tommy, thankful for our faithful ushers, grateful for the members of our wise board of trustees and our dedicated prayerful practitioners. We're so grateful for our little children and for their teachers, and for all those who have planned and worked to to make this Easter Sunday a success. We're so grateful for our pastor, Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury, whose message today will touch our hearts and minds. I'm so thankful to be here and sharing this gathering with all of you. Knowing that this service is perfect just as it must be, I release this word into that perfect action of the law and know so it is. Amen. My reading today comes from a Unity publication. 40 Days of Letting Go. It's a Lenten book, but the discussion about Easter is what I'm going to talk about today. The long-told story of Jesus' crucifixion, entombment, and resurrection is the story of our lives. We resonate with its loss, with the darkness, and with a new life because we cycle through the same processes time and again in our human lifetimes. We all experience death, the death of a loved one, or of hope, of plans, or death of life as we know it, when everything changes. Deaths of jobs, deaths of relationships, deaths of what is familiar. Sometimes we experience a public crucifixion that feels as if everyone is watching and jeering. A bankruptcy, a divorce, even an arrest. Many crucifixions, those metaphorical deaths, are so painful that we find ourselves in a tomb afterward. Our lives are in limbo. We must recover and regroup. This is the Saturday experience that Jesus' mother had and his disciples. Their beloved leader had been killed as a common criminal. Their hope was lost, and everything they believed was thrown into doubt. What a terrible period of grief that must have been. But there is always a resurrection. That's the message of Easter for us. Nothing stays dark forever. A new day always dawns. We are given new beginnings and fresh starts. The sun comes up again. It breaks through the fog. There is nothing so painful in our lives that it can't be redeemed for good somehow. And that is our prayer from the tomb. Show me the good. Then we can start to create a new day. Through the cycles of your life, the Easter story might speak to you differently in different years. Some years you might be experiencing a personal crucifixion, in pain, asking why God seems to have forsaken you. Some years you might be in a tomb and waiting and trusting that something lies beyond that darkness. In some years you might know the joy of the women who discovered the tomb was empty, realizing that a situation is not as bad as you feared. And every year, Easter can remind you of your own divinity and what your spiritual nature means for your life. Each year you can ask, what does this Easter story tell me about myself as an expression of God in human form? Among its beautiful lessons, the Easter story reveals, I have to turn the page, that death is not the end, it is only a physical event. It happens to our bodies and within human circumstances, but it cannot touch our spirit, the eternal essence of God that we are. Death in its many forms, the people, places, things, thoughts, habits that we must let go, is not to be feared because we cannot die. Life is eternal, far beyond this physical existence. The risen Jesus tells us there is so much more to life than you have realized. It puts divinity into our grasp. It lets us know we can survive anything, literally anything, because we will always keep living in one form or another. We are the energy of life because we are part of the one eternal presence, the one eternal power in the universe. That's a pretty spectacular message, any way you look at it. Wherever you are in the cycle of death, tomb, and resurrection, just know that we celebrate our divine eternal selves this Easter. Please join me in prayer. I'm just so confident in the knowledge, the certainty that God is all. We celebrate this beautiful Easter day. We enjoy that sunshine and the breeze of fresh air, our fellow humans, the plants, the animals of this spectacular blue planet, all God's creations. Each one lives and breathes as part of God. So in deep gratitude for all the blessings of this day, I release these words right now in the perfect working of divine law, and just let them be. And so it is.
When I am down, and oh, my soul is weary, trouble comes, my heart burdened me, and I am still and waiting in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. Raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. For I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Yeah, Tommy Cosentino. Come on. Well, was that a great rendition? Thank you so much. So, good morning. Good morning. I am Reverend Bill Salisbury, and it's my absolute pleasure to be here. Ooh, I have an affirmation and a candy. That makes this a sweet affirmation, no? As I change my thoughts, the world around me changes. How apropos. And the title of today's talk is going hand in hand with that beautiful song Tommy just did for us, it's rising to our power. So yes, we get lifted up. It's that divinity within us, though, that does the lifting. It allows us to rise to that power. And of course, today being Easter, may I say, this is the one day of the year when it's okay to put all of our eggs in one basket. Bad joke. However, it was just a couple thousand years ago that the man, Jesus, put all of his eggs in one basket, intentionally, knowing what the outcome was going to be. And in truth, he did that for us. Now, current theology would have us believe that Jesus died for our sins. I don't think so. And that he died for our salvation. And I'm going to say that's probably true, but not in the way that we've had it drilled into us. Because Jesus was a man. He was that perfect coming together of humanness and divinity in time and space. He was the perfect, and so far, the greatest example of that we've had. But I dare say when he cut his finger, he bled. And he probably had some sleepless nights out there in the desert. And he probably was hungry from time to time, just like we all get. And as we know, sometimes frustration could get the best of him. All of these human qualities. So somehow we've turned that into the fact that he was other than what he was. Just that prime example of the divine and the human melding in one person. The divine, well, the melding of the divine and all material things is just that combination that happens in time and space that happened at the moment of the Big Bang. So it's not unusual to accept that combination of things in him, but if we're going to accept that combination of things in him, we need to accept that combination of things in ourselves. Because we are no different. Different only in degree, not in kind. Jesus was crucified because he was a danger to the politics of his day and to the religion of his day. And crucifixion was the means of punishment in those days. So, I know we make this big thing about him carrying the cross up the pathway, the Via Dolorosa, and all the pain and all the suffering, and that's true, it was there, but this was not a special event. This happened thousands of times in history back then, because that was the mode of punishment. And I guess just thinking about the idols that we have raised from that, it's a good thing that the death penalty wasn't, I don't know, hanging, or electrocution, or firing squad, or beheading. What idol would we put in place then? So we have to know that this Easter, every Easter, is not about the pain and suffering. It's not about the crucifixion. Easter is about the resurrection. It's about the rising above. As Jesus was rising to his power, he was showing us the way to rise to our power. But you know what? I think we're hard of hearing. I don't know how many times in the 3 years of his ministry he gave this lesson. And yeah, we bring that forward a little bit and we give it some lip service, but we put all these conditions upon it. And of course, in today's society, it's become an elitist thing where that was never meant to be. Meister Eckhart, back in like the 13th or 14th century, said that there was only one requirement that God has of us, and that is simply to let God be God in us. And no doubt he got that from his interpretation of the Easter story. Many years ago, it's kind of fun that Sally's reading came from Unity, because Unity has the most superb take on Christianity and on Easter. But many years ago, there was a Unity minister, Emmett Fox, who gave this talk about Easter. And during this talk, he mentioned a play at the time that was called Six Actors Looking for an Author. And the play was simple. It opened up onto a bare stage. Nothing, no props, nothing, just a bare stage. And slowly, one at a time, 6 actors came up into the stage. And then sometime later, along came the stage manager. So they all approached him and they said, "We want to live in you. We want a story. We want to have our story. We need somebody to write it. And we would want to come to life in you." And well, as the play progressed, you know, they brought in some props, and they made a very interesting story out of it, and I think it was, you know, a moderate success. And I don't tell you that to talk about the theater. I mention that because I think that's what the Easter story is saying to us. I want to live in you. I want to live in you. I want you to make me into a story. Make me into the story that Jesus started 2,000 years ago, and make it personal, because it's not about what happened 2,000 years ago. It's about what happens to us every day of our lives. It's the rising to the power. It's the resurrection. Don't we always say, don't bog down in the conditions. Stuff happens. It happens to all of us. And it's never going to stop happening to all of us. So what's important is not that it happens, but to not bog down in that pain and suffering, not to perpetuate it, not to keep it alive, not to make our story about that. It's to make our story about the overcoming of those things that are going to happen to us as a natural consequence of us being here. So, you know, nobody knows how we got here. I mean, I don't know. In the overall cosmic scheme of things, this planet might be a vacation destination. I don't know. It might be a penal colony. I mean, who knows? Nobody living knows what it's all about. But we do know that we're here. And while we're here, the story we should write, the story we should live, is about our rising to our power, whatever the occasion. But sometimes we've been so conditioned with what I think of as errant theology that we tend to put our attention somewhere else, where it doesn't belong. Jesus never asked us to do that. Jesus understood what this world is really all about. not just this world, but the entire universe. We all sit in these chairs, and they hold us up. Got a podium here, and it's solid. I can lean against it. But physics tells us there's really nothing there. What's there, the little bit of material that's there is held together by the swirling energy within it. It's all about the energy. And there's so little matter in these things, we should be able to look right through them. We should. They only have the form they have because they're at such an extremely low vibration that energy is contained within the form that it's in. Wait a minute. I might be the same way. Jesus saw through this. The resurrection came, the rising above came, the transcendence came because he understood how energy works. He understood that everything was energy and everything is divine energy because everything comes from that only source there is, and that's from the divine consciousness that created all this stuff. So he knew that he had to just raise his vibration and remove himself from this form. And it's true, when he appeared in front of his disciples again, first in front of Mary, of course. How else could it be? That he showed them this very same form, but remember, he said, don't touch me, because, and he knew that energy was still swirling around. It had not solidified yet. He gave the appearance because he could do that, because he understood divine energy. You know, there's a lot of writing in the Bible by Paul, St. Paul, who was, you recall, he was Saul of Tarsus, and he was a Pharisee whose only mission in life was to find and persecute Christians after the death of Christ. And Paul is responsible, I think, for some huge percentage of the Bible. So many stories in it, so many books of it. And yet, he never met the man Jesus. Think about that. He did all that prolific writing, all that deep spiritual delving, and he never met the man Jesus. He only ever met the ascended Jesus, who came to him on that road to Damascus and asked him, why are you persecuting my people? And they were his people. Paul was a Jew. And it so struck him that, of course, he turned and he stopped doing all that, and he became the St. Paul that we know today. And he understood that Jesus, by way of dying, and he didn't die just to die. Who's going to do that? He died to show us that death was not the final answer. What he said was, I want to show you how. I want to lift you out of lack and limitation into the allness that you are. I want to lift you out of pain and suffering into the joy and the beauty and the heaven that is to be had right here on earth. It's not somewhere else some other time. I want to lift you out of death into eternal life. I want to lift you out of everything you don't want to be in into its exact opposite, which is the equivalence of combination of every God quality there is, and that is becomes the heaven on earth. But somehow, we've been told a different story. We have to let that story go. Easter is screaming to us, I want you to write my story. I want to live within you. And the only way we can do that is by looking beyond the conditions to the eternal truth of who we are. You know, there was a Snoopy cartoon. I knew I could get Snoopy in here somehow. Or he's the manager of the baseball team, and he's standing on the mound, and Lucy walks in from the field, and she says, gee, Charlie Brown, I'm sure sorry I missed that easy fly ball. I had it all the way. I thought for sure I had it, and then I remembered all the times I missed.
Yeah.
And as she's walking away, the last frame says, I let the past get in my eyes. And don't we do that? We can let the past get in our eyes. We can especially let that part of the past that has been reconstructed, that has been co-opted by revisionists of the truth of the past into some sort of a power structure for their own benefit. That was never meant to be. What was meant to be was we were shown how to rise to our power. We were shown without any question about it how there was nothing that we could not overcome. Emmett Fox also, he wrote this little 5-page booklet back in the day. 5-page booklet. And I think it's like the biggest selling pamphlet periodical there ever was. It was called The Golden Key. And it is a 5-page version of the entire philosophy of science of mind. So we have it in, you know, like a 600-page book. I can whittle it down for you. Get the Golden Key, and you can have it in 5 pages. And it's really easy reading. But what it does is it describes what the Golden Key is. Okay, here comes a spoiler alert. The Golden Key is just a way to approach things in life to rise above them. And it's just a roadmap for what we call in Science of Mind a spiritual mind treatment. And basically at its barest form, it's just this. When difficulty arises, whatever that difficulty is, it can be big, it can be small, it can be an owie, or it can be a devastating loss. Whatever it is, stop giving it attention. And don't we say that all the time? And in place of giving it attention, understand with all of your being that this is happening. This is not necessarily, it's not for a purpose for us, okay? There was no such thing as a God created to make us suffer and have pain and be devastated and whine and moan and cry baby all the time. I mean, who would buy into that? A power so immense, so strong, so powerful that it could create a universe and everything in it, and yet would wish upon us pain and suffering? No, that's a human construct. We bring that on. We bring it on. The Golden Key says the way to get out of this conundrum, if you will, that we sometimes place ourselves in, is to understand with all of our being that God is everything. Total, complete, all the power. There's only one, and it's huge, it's eternal, it's infinite. And when we focus on that, whatever the trouble is going to go away. I mean, come on. Who here is suffering from what was a devastating, oh, it's going to ruin me, occasion or occurrence from 20 years ago? None of us. I dare say we probably didn't get there the shortcut way, as Emmett Fox would have us do with the golden key. We probably struggled through it, and we went through all the motions, and we did all the human things. But the fact is, what he tells us and what Science of Mind tells us is we can cut out the middleman of all the pain and suffering and the dragging this out simply by turning immediately to this thought. There is nothing here but God. And staying in that thought. And I know the tendency is to kind of step out of it a little bit once in a while and say, look back and say, so is that nuisance still here? Did me turn into God get rid of it? Let me look, is it still here? No. Because as soon as we do that, we're turning and giving it some more energy again. So the master teacher showed us the way. Showed us that it's not about, back to bad theology for a minute. It's not about confessing sins and confession of any sort. It's about changing the way we look at things. It's about transformation. This guy transformed from a body on a slab into that magnificent light being that was seen by Saul of Tarsus, that was seen by his disciples, and that has given us every possible reason to believe that that's nothing that we can't do. We don't do it, but we do to varying degrees, and we do it on a small scale sometimes. I think maybe just to see how it's going to work. But that's kind of like that stepping aside and looking over to see if that growling dog's still behind us, nipping at our heels. So the message of Easter, I think, is something like death is unreal. I mean, it's real to us, obviously, from leaving from these bodies, just like Jesus left his body. But Jesus didn't cease to be. Didn't cease to be that divine energy that was in that human form. So the message of Easter is this: life never ends and love never dies. And I think we need to take that to heart. We need to stop wallowing around in the pain and the suffering of it. And we need to realize that the message of Easter is, this too shall pass, but we never shall. And remember what Jesus said, this earth, this universe even, will pass away someday, but these words of truth that I speak never will. And they won't, because we do not need this planet or this universe in order to be the spiritual divine beings that we are. Whatever form that takes, whatever shape that puts us into. So let's just know this together. From the beginning of our days, we've been told one story. A different story than the greatest man who ever lived told. Yet a story nonetheless. So from our beginning, we have heard this, and we can't change that. We can't change the beginning. But what we can do is start exactly where we are and make a different ending. Because followed to its logical conclusion, the beginning that we've been given, the story we've been told, leads us into only pain and suffering, and then the relief of death when that's over. The real story of Easter is we don't have to do that. Because after the suffering, whatever form that takes, comes the resurrection, comes the transcendence, comes that transformation of being held captive in these small bodies with these small minds and being freed into that infinite, eternal, glorious knowledge of all there is, into that power that allows us to lift ourselves out of seeming problems, occurrences, situations, circumstances. So with this Easter perspective, I just say, take it with me. Allow Easter to live within you. Allow it to live within me. Allow it to become the story that it was meant to be. A story of glory and resurrection, of transformation, of rising above. When we do that, we will find that we are living a better life. We're living in a better world. We're being who we were meant to be when we were put into these vessels on this planet, totally in our divinity and our spirituality, because there's nothing else, no other material to be made from. And knowing that as we allow God to be God in us, as us, through us, that we experience more and more and more of who we are rather than less. So it's just with grateful heart I say thank you, God, for this knowledge. Thank you for allowing me to let that Easter story live within me. I just release this word into that perfect law, knowing that it is already done. And so it is. This is our time to shine our light, to share our abundance. We know that all of our good comes from that one source, God, and for this we are grateful. Thank you for your continued financial support as well as emotional and loving, heartfelt support, because it's that financial support that keeps us going. And for those who are not in attendance but watch this on video and continue to hit that donate button on the website and send in their tithes, thank you. So let's just know that we bless these gifts, these tithes, these offerings, knowing they are given from the central core of who we are, which is God made manifest on this plane. We send them forth to do their good work in this community and in the world at large, with no strings and no conditions, and so it is.
I've seen my share of struggles when I thought that I knew best, when I've sailed through the storms and stopping to rest. It always seems the hardest when I've made up my stubborn mind. Well, I'm changing my ways this time. I want to be like water coming down the mountain in the shadowy canyon, going from pool to stream. Want to be like water and uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. Have you ever seen an eagle head straight into the wind? He doesn't pick a fight, spreads his wings and just gives in. And in the end he always makes it home just fine. Yes, he knows that every storm subsides. I want to be like water coming down the mountains in the shadowy canyons, going from pool to stream. Want to be like water, head uphill no more. I am where this river's meant to go. I've railed against the stars for the cards that I've been dealt, for the lottery I never won, for the heartache that I felt. But I always seemed, when I let go of expectations and regrets, life has plenty of surprises for me yet. I wanna be like water going down the mountains, in the shadowy canyons, going from pool to stream. Wanna be like water and uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. I wanna be like water coming down the mountains, in the shadowy canyons, going from pool to stream. Wanna be like water and uphill no more. I am bound for the sea.
Oh, what a great rendition of that Daniel Nahmod song, right? Yeah. Nice, nice, nice. Let's just have everybody stand up. And let's just know something together. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called life.
It's this thing called love.
It's this thing called love.
It's this Easter story that I am.
It's this Easter story that I am.
It is me rising to my power.
It is me rising to my power.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
In me.